Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Anton, and welcome to today's video for Legends of Runeterra. What are we doing today? Well, a whole new set came out, Glory and Navori, and on top of that, we have had a major card rotation. I believe each region had around 30 to 50 cards, depending on the region, rotated out into the eternal format. So now there are two formats: standard format, where you can only play what's in the format, and the eternal format, where you can play anything, all the cards. So what are we doing today? Well, every time a new set comes out, new cards come out, I like to make one of these videos where I go through and show off some decks that I think are very solid in the meta and have a lot of potential that use some of the new cards or are just fresh and novel. So of course, we're going to be showing off some set some set decks, some Samira decks, and some Jack decks, and a few decks that are not playing those champions, but are playing other champions that are older champions, but either are, in my opinion, just good into the current meta, post-rotation, or have gotten maybe a new card or two that are not champions. So yeah, we have 9 decks here. I think every single deck here is playable up to Masters. Maybe not in their current form because it is literally just the first day of the new format, but with some fine tuning as well. Once a meta starts to settle as well, and we can change up certain flex cards and start to tech for a meta, we can go from there. But I think every card and every deck here is really good and has a lot of potential. And this video is meant for people who are just a little overwhelmed from all of the information we have gotten, all the new cards, the rotated cards, and they just want to play something and they don't want to think and brew, and they just want to grab a deck and go. So let's start with our first deck, which is Samira Action. Both a new deck because it's playing a new card, Samira, but also kind of plays similar to a lot of old decks, basically just the standard Action Shurima mid-range piles. I think it's a pretty solid list. Not really sure on certain cards though. Really just, again, classic turn 2 champion here because we have both Action and Samira into Swinging Glaive is pretty solid. Dark and Bloodletters is still doing its thing. Solid unit suite too, you know, the unit suite like Forsaken Bakai, just great. Vagabond to help you get a Warlord's Palace. As for the spells, quite a few new spells here, basically just Stylish Shot and Pirouette. Very, very nice. Stylish Shot just getting a little bit more pings. Absolver was rotated out, so we are trying out a 1 of Might and a 1 of Great Hammer as Absolver replacements. Couple of Heedless Resurrections for a little extra late game. There are other things you can try, but I like it. Whirling Death, this is a sweet combat trick. With all of these equipments, though, there are other cards you can play, maybe like Grappling Hook. Desert Duel is also something you can consider, but yeah, I think this deck is very solid. You might also want to consider playing All Out, the 1 mana +2/+0. However, if you plunder, it's +2/+2. I'm not a big fan of it because outside of Stylish Shot, we don't really have a great way to plunder without passing priority, because technically you can plunder with Pirouette, you can send this face. But yeah, I think this deck is pretty solid. Just a standard Action mid-range pile. And of course, Darkened Weapons are pretty good for a little extra late game as well. Anyway, our next deck. Our next deck actually is a classic here. 0 new cards. So if you're looking for decks of new cards, this is not it for you. But Talia Malphite. A lot of people I've seen are saying how Shurima is kind of dead now. Yes, Shurima is looking a lot weaker post-rotation. It looks like Shurima is going to be mostly just Action now, I feel. But Talia, I think, is still fine. Ziggs was rotated, so Talia's Ziggs is pretty much gone. Also, Absolver was rotated, so that really is kind of bad. But Talia Malphite has always been a kind of a secondary landmark-based deck, if that makes sense. Instead of playing, sometimes people would just play Malphite over Ziggs and play Targon instead of Ziggs. I like the deck now. I think with the rotation slowing the game down, a big guy like Malphite just actually gets to do what he wants to do, which is just come down and slow the game down and start to put on pressure with his stuns. Um, Dragon Roost, it's still your standard, like you play a landmark and then you copy it with Talia, Dragon Roost on 3 or Salt Spire on 4, and copy whichever one you want on 5 with Talia and go from there. But yeah, only time will tell really if No Absolver is too much. I feel like, yes, No Absolver does hurt Shurima decks a lot, but I feel like they're still fine because, again, every other region also lost a lot of very powerful cards as well. And I think Shurima will be fine with No Absolver. Our next deck, though, we got Jack Set. 2 of the new champions. I like this deck. Still working on it though. I like Jack as a card. I just don't know how I want to build Jack at the moment. Like, I've considered so many things and how to build Jack. Obviously Jack Set, Jack Samira. I've even done like Jack Seraphine. I think there's a lot of ways to build Jack. I'm just trying to figure out what is the best way, but I think Jack Set is pretty solid. Lots of synergy between the two. Coins are really good for both of them. Jack makes the coins, Set loves the coins. Both of their followers have synergy with each other too. King's Court, just, giving you some brash. Prize Fight's solid. Really like Knuckle here with the coins too. I feel like since we're making so many coins, Knuckle's a really good option for this deck. Might go down to 2, maybe even 1 Knuckle, but for now we're just playing 3 Knuckles. You play Knuckle, you play Mako, you play a coin and get some mana back, and then you play Bull, and then you win the game. So yeah, rest of the deck though, just staples here, a little bit of removal, counter magic because Ionia, some card draw, coin generators. So yeah, I like the deck though. Biggest problem I'm gonna see here is like actually winning. We have a lot of, I wouldn't call them win cons, but we have a lot of cards here that are like, they can run away with the game, I guess is the best way to put it. Like leveled up Set, leveled up Jack, Knuckle with some coins, King's Court just because it's big, but nothing like just a really big, like, hey, I came onto the field, we win the game, like a Commander Ladros or something, or Captain Farron, or just decimates into decimates, or I don't know, like a level up Jace or whatever. So yeah, still messing around with this deck, but I think this deck is good and a solid baseline for building Jack Set. Now our next deck. We got another Samira deck here. I like this pile. Ever since Dragon Caller was buffed, I've been trying to play a lot of Dragon Caller. Samira giving us flares does help us activate flow. Sure, Eye of the Dragon no longer exists. That is very sad. Don't get me wrong. But we have, well, basically big dragons in the form of Empyreans from Dragon Caller. Helps us push in a lot of damage. Master Yi loves flow as well. Darken Fan gives us some great late game, and it helps to try and mitigate damage with the Dragonlings. And both Samira and Yi love to equip the Darken Fan. Attentive Accountant as well, being an elusive, loves Darken Fan. So I think the deck is pretty solid. All Out is good. We just have the problem, I would say here is a good problem to have. We have so many combat tricks to choose from. Wuju Style, Momentous Choice, All Out. Not sure about Momentous Choice. I really like it, but I feel like the problem with Momentous Choice is we just don't have enough equipment, but I'm still playing it because the card is just so good, especially with Samira and leveling her up. So yeah, take this deck for a spin. Really fun. I know a lot of people love Master Yi. I do think Master Yi Samira has some legs, and I'm going to keep working on it myself. And our next pile, what do we have next? A deck that I actually really like. We got Ash Nocturne, Spooky Ash. Now, right away, you can just cut Nocturne in all honesty, but and just play Mono Ash, but I really like Nocturne here because it helps our finisher, Harrowing. One, Nocturne has just a solid summon ability. You Nightfall, grant enemy vulnerable, and then you shrink their board. Pretty nice with Ash. You then freeze. Theoretically, you can freeze the strongest unit, which you probably gave vulnerable from Nocturne, or you can use a freeze spell like Harsh Winds or Ice Veil Archer or something else. Still working on this deck though, of course, but I really like the build I have here. Not sure if I want 3 Rhyme Tusk Shamans, might go down to 2. But yeah, I like the unit base. Mostly built this deck because I think Soul Harvest plus Freeze is really, really powerful. Could see myself going up to 3 Frozen and Fears too, just for a little extra win con, but mostly we're just trying to play Harrowing, bring back a bunch of Ashes, a bunch of Nocturnes, and attack with all those champions and win the game. Could also see myself going up to a 2nd Rekindler as well. But yeah, I like this deck. Very fun deck to play. Always love Spooky Ash. One of the most fun decks in LOR to play. Take it for a spin. Next deck though, what do we got? Probably the most aggressive version of Samira that's actually viable in my opinion. Samira Misfortune. Bilgewater Noxus. Basically, this is what Pirate Burn has turned into. I don't even know if we'll call it Pirate Burn, because I guess it's still technically playing Pirates, because MF and Butcher. But you know this deck. If you've played Pirate Burn, you know this deck. We're trying to get on the board quick, and we're trying to burn our opponent out. You got your standard, like, lots of 1-drops to just really go aggressive. No burn. Well, not much burn, because Decimate has been rotated out. I believe Noxian Fervor is still in the game. I'm not a big fan of Noxian Fervor in this deck. I kind of like, you can add Noxian Fervor if you want, but I kind of like the build we have here with Inferna and some Plunders, and just trying to get a little bit extra value to finish off our opponent in the end, rather than just playing Noxian Fervor. If cards with Lifesteal or Drain cards become popular, you could add in Noxian Fervor. But as it is now, I prefer having Powder Pandemonium and a little bit of card draw, card creation as our finisher, as our late game. I believe Riptide Rex is also in the game, so you could even consider adding in a 1 of Riptide Rex and going for the dream that is Riptide Rex into Daring Demolisher. Very unlikely to happen, but hey, that's a fun little combo you can do if you want to try it. Next up, what do we have? I believe another Jack deck. We got Samira Jack here. Just another coin-based deck. This is kind of like our previous deck, like the Samira Misfortune deck. We go for a little bit of a more mid-range style here. Pretty standard mid-range pile, just good units here and good spells. I'll say the problem with this deck is, again, like the Jack set pile, kind of struggling to win the game. So we have 2 Knuckles here and Jack himself to try and win, but I kind of wish we just had like 1 more win con. We could consider playing Jack's Boat, but I don't like it as much in this pile. I really do like Inferna in this deck though. I like Inferna. At first I was kind of skeptical about Inferna, but post-rotation, now that I've seen the whole list of cards rotated and have thought about the game more, I really like Inferna. Especially if you can put some equipment on her. So like Barnacles, or I believe the card is called Jagged Cutlass, the 3-mana +2/+1 equipment that if you plunder, it costs 1 less. Also activates Inferna too, of course. So yeah, I like the card. You could also consider adding a Powder Pandemonium as well as a little extra win con, but I don't know. I like 5-Punch Pablo. I'm trying out 5-Punch Pablo. Also, I started with 3 Silas shots in this pile. Went to only 1 and 2 warning shots because I kind of felt like mana was a little tight and I wasn't getting the seconds or the Silas shot back after every time I was casting it. Also, you know, it is focus speed. Sometimes I do like the burst speed of warning shot for all out. But yeah, I think the deck is solid. I do think there is a good Jack Samira pile out there, and I think this is a good baseline. Just going to struggle to find how to actually close out games. And our last couple of decks, always, as usual, saving the best for last. This is not the best, of course, or at least not my favorite, but we're getting there to best for last. I like this pile. Seraphine Echo with Bar. So, you know, standard Seraphine stuff, you know, you play Bar, you play Seraphine, value, right? Now, you might say, why Echo? Well, first off, we play our Predicts suite, so we got that, you know, Time Tricks, Bakai, Chronomancer. The new card, Augmented Clockling, is so good. Like, I think this card is great. But what else are we doing? Well, we're playing Secret Keeper. 3 mana 2/4 when I'm summoned, create at the bottom of your deck 2 random level 2 champions that aren't in hand, deck, or play. So, you know, standard Seraphine pile. We're just trying to... Our main game plan is basically just Seraphine value. You play Seraphine, she levels up, and then you go from there. Get a little bit of discounts with bar as well. We've got Called Shot for its parallel convergence as an extra win con. But I really like Secret Keeper. 3 mana 2/4 is a solid body for a 3-drop. And the level 2 champions, if you roll really lucky, can turn into a win con themselves. And with all the predicts, even if you don't find them with a predict, you can shuffle them so they're not at the bottom anymore. So yeah, I like this deck a lot. Stuff I'm still working on with this deck is the spell suite. Not sure how much card draw I want. At the moment, we only really have 2 drum solos, but we might go into a little more card draw. Also, might consider adding in Rite of Negation, depending on the meta. Good example of a deck, in my opinion, that gets better once a meta starts to settle and we can tech for it. And our last deck, the deck that I've been playing the most, and my favorite deck, we have Set Karma. Now, I know a lot of you are like, oh, of course, it's a Karma list. I know, I'm sorry. I love Karma. She is my favorite champion in the game. So, if you haven't played Karma, you might be saying like, okay, but how do we win this game? Well, it's Karma. Karma plus random spells and duplicating spells just usually win. I've seen a lot of people say like, oh, so Set's your win con. No, Set is not our win con. Set's job here is to be a 5 mana 4/5 with Challenger. That's it. He's meant to come down, pick off a unit or 2, be really annoying, and eat a removal spell. If he doesn't die and he levels up, great for us. If he doesn't die and he just sticks on the board, also great, because then his champ spell is active, which, while I don't think Facebreaker, I believe is his champ spell, is a good spell, it's a solid champ spell because it buys us time with the stun. Now, I am still working on this list, though. I do really, really like what I have here, but I will be honest with you, as the meta starts to develop, I will most likely be changing out some cards. I'm playing a 1-of Financier, in all honesty, mostly because I just like the guy, but in all honesty, if you want to play this deck and fine-tune it, you probably cut him because he's not really trading well into anything. At the moment, I'm playing Attentive Accountant. I like the card, but I feel like eventually I'll cut it completely and add in like the 3rd Pit Professional, who I am more impressed. Well, I've been very impressed by her. She's doing a lot better than I thought she would do. So I'd probably cut like the 3 accountants for a 1-of Pit Professional and 2 Disciples of Duran. The reason I would cut this for Disciple of Duran, in my opinion, is Disciple of Duran, first off, trades better because she's a 2-mana 2/2. And Preparation, the spell she makes, is very similar to a coin. In my opinion, for Attentive Accountant to be better than Disciple of Duran, there'd have to be like a lot of 1-mana 1/1 elusives first off, or 2/1s, I guess, that she could trade into. And she would have to Nexus Strike at least twice for her to be better than Disciple of Duran. And as the meta starts to stabilize and settle down, I feel like that's going to be much harder to Nexus Strike twice. I've also heard other people are just not playing Augmented Clockling in this list. I think Augmented Clockling is so good. Smooth Mixologist doing better than I thought. Especially because Eye of the Dragon was rotated. We do need a little bit of healing because we are taking damage. I really like 2 Sky Singers as well because I just like this card, 1, and I think it's just really, really good. I think 3 might be a little too many. With all the card draw in the deck and the predict draw from Clockling, I think 2 is the perfect number. Still working on the spell suite, but I kind of like what I have here so far. I'll be honest with you, when I built this list, I kind of forgot high notes in the game. So I'm most likely going to split up the numbers and play some high notes. Tag Out is just great. Might go up to 3. At the moment, I think 2 is just good, but 3 might be a thing I go to because it is technically also a 5-mana Will of Ionia if you really, really need it, which is not bad. Caustic Griff, I think 2 is good. Could see myself going up to 3 depending on how the meta shapes out. 3 Palm, you know, not much to talk about with that one. It's just a good card. Couple of Denies. Another card that's Gonna depend on the meta, like how many denies do we want? Do we want Notify, etc., etc. Card draw suite here is 3 place your bet, 3 formula. No drum solo, even though it's still in standard. I don't really like drum solo in the deck because I feel like since we have so many coin creators, I think the coins are just better than what drum solo can do. Also, coins with karma are just so powerful. And while he's not really meant to be a win con, the coins help with Set. If we actually level up Set, that's nuts. And our last couple of cards, Hex Obliterator. Hex Obliterator is just a solid piece of big removal if we need it. No Thermo Beam because, well, we can't play it. Thermo Beam was rotated. Also very cute. Formula plus Set is very nice, especially leveled up Set. It helps level them up so fast. Anyway, that is it. That is all 9 decks I wanted to show off today. I think this Karma set list especially has a lot of potential. I'm actually undefeated on the deck so far. Well, not undefeated. I think I lost 1 game out of around, I feel like I've played 10, maybe 11 or so games on the deck. So not a big sample size, but I've only lost 1 game so far, and that was to a mirror. And I will be honest with you, while I lost, I do feel like it was on me and I just played poorly. But look, copium. But yeah, I'd love to hear what you guys think of these decks. And what you guys think of the expansion. I think it's a really good expansion, and I'm actually very impressed with rotation as well. I'd love to hear your opinions on rotation. I know a lot of people had very strong feelings on rotation. For me, my feelings on rotation were basically the let's wait and see, because rotation can be good or it can be bad. And in my opinion, I think Riot did a good job with rotation. I think they hit each region relatively the same. Sure, some regions feel a little bit worse post-rotation, like Freljord. Freljord feels like it got hit the hardest, I'll be honest with you, but in all honesty, Freljord has kind of been meh. And having Feel the Rush get rotated did kind of just knock out Freljord, in my opinion. Both Feel the Rush and Spirits Unleashed got rotated, and a lot of Ramp got rotated too. So yeah, Freljord probably got hit the hardest, but that's because the Freljord region, in my opinion, has kind of been being held together by a couple of cards. So yeah, I'd also love to hear what you guys are playing as well in the game and in standard as well. Always love to hear new deck ideas and brews. And if you guys just enjoyed the video in general, I would love it if you could leave a like or a comment down below. Always helps me and always helps out the channel. And if you guys want to keep up with the Legends of Runeterra content, you can always go and subscribe to the channel as well. And if you want to watch me play some Legends of Runeterra, you can go and check me out over on Twitch at twitch.tv/Zenitton, where I stream pretty much every single day. Anyway, though, with that all said and done, thank you all once more for watching this video. And until I see you guys in the next one, bye!